If you or your child have tried Adderall extended release, Concerta, or even Focalin extended release and still feel like you're chasing that perfect ADHD balance, you're not alone. For a lot of patients, those medications help their ADHD, but can also bring a rough crash, mood swings, or inconsistent coverage. Estaris is a newer ADHD medication that a surprising number of people haven't heard of, but I've seen it work beautifully in many real-world patients. I'm Dr. David Danish, a double board certified psychiatrist specializing in child, adolescent, and adult psychiatry, especially in ADHD across the lifespan. I've prescribed Azstarys to thousands of patients at this point, so let me walk you through what really matters, what works, what's tricky, and what to watch out for. Azstarys is a long-acting stimulant approved by the FDA to treat ADHD in children ages 6 and up, as well as in adults. It's in the methylphenidate family, like Concerta and Focalin, but here's the twist. Azstarys uses 2 forms of the medication. About 30% of it is immediate release dexmethylphenidate, so it kicks in fast, like Focalin immediate release, usually within 30 minutes. The other 70% is serdexmethphenidate, a prodrug that activates more gradually as your body digests it. That combination gives you a quick start in the morning and smooth, sustained coverage that can last up to 13 hours. Clinically, I often reach for it in patients who tried many other stimulants that tended to burn out a little bit faster or led to too much irritability or weight loss, for example. Azstarys tends to cover that evening time when kids are doing homework, for example. And here's a bonus. Because the prodrug has to be metabolized, Azstarys has a lower risk of misuse or abuse compared to other stimulants. It can't be snorted or injected to get a high, making it a safer option for patients with a history of substance use concerns with uppers or stimulants. Now, side effect wise, it tends to mirror other stimulants. The main side effects I tend to see early on might be mild stomach upset, so make sure you take it with food. A decrease in appetite, especially around lunchtime. Although one of the interesting things that came out in the research with Azstarys that I always tell my patients is it tends to have less appetite suppression than other stimulants. Even something like Focalin extended release, which is the exact same chemical, the dexmethylphenidate. So it's a very interesting thing I've seen in the research, and I've seen it occur in real life where someone might have more appetite suppression, say, from Focalin or even Concerta than they do with Azstarys. So it's very interesting. With any stimulant, you need to watch for cardiac concerns. If someone has a first-degree relative or they themselves have an arrhythmia or there's a history of sudden death in the family from cardiac concerns, of course, you have to do an EKG first. You have to watch for insomnia because it does last a long time in the system, again, up to 13 hours in most patients. With any of the stimulants, there's a list of potential side effects that I'm going to give you a free resource on in my drdaviddanish.com Mind Vault, free access, and it lists all of the pros and cons of this stimulant as well as others. So please head there to see the full list. So Azstarys is one of the smoothest and most effective options on the methylphenidate side of ADHD medications. In my practice, I would say about 9 out of 10 patients who switch from Focalin extended release to Azstarys end up preferring Azstarys, even though they're the same base chemical. The coverage is longer, it's steadier, and less prone to that crash and burn feeling some people might feel with Focalin. I reach for it when a child or adult needs coverage into the evening. An adult feels too jittery on Concerta or Adderall, let's say. A family is worried about medication misuse or abuse. Someone has mood swings or appetite loss with other stimulant classes like the amphetamines, the Vyvanse, and the Adderalls. That said, it's not a magic bullet for everyone. Around 1 in 10 patients don't respond well, usually because their body does not absorb or convert the prodrug efficiently. Some patients who've been on Focalin XR, the 1 out of 10 or less, actually prefer Focalin XR over that, and in those cases, I tend to think there is that absorption issue because it's as if they aren't even on a medication at all. But that said, again, most prefer Azstarys, so it's worth a shot. Azstarys is flexible. It can be swallowed or sprinkled on applesauce or even dissolved in water. It's great for kids who struggle with taking whole pills. If this was at all helpful, please hit subscribe, please hit like, and please share it with others. This helps get the word out to people so they can be more educated with their practitioner. Also, be sure to visit that free resource in the Mind Vault at drdaviddanish.com where the full list of potential side effects are, as well as a great breakdown of when to consider an EKG to make sure there are no cardiac concerns, whether it's before you start the medication or whether you have some cardiac side effects after you start it, like palpitations. Also at drdaviddanish.com, I want you to look at Cindy's National executive function program. Cindy is my go-to executive function expert. She's the best I've ever met, and you can connect with her directly through the website and add on executive function work weekly, even daily if it's needed for you or your loved one. If you don't know what executive function is and executive function coaching is, then I did make a video on that, but it is the most important non-medication intervention for ADHD. It's something I wish I knew about when I was in middle school, high school, college, and beyond. It can be a game changer. I'll see you in the next video.